Okay, now I want us to take a look at some different strategies to make comparing fractions easier. We're going to get to using common denominators, which has a lot of math and multiplication, but there's actually some really easy strategies that a lot of times, in fact, I'd say most of the time, you can look at fractions, and if you know just a few different properties of fractions, you can very quickly tell which fraction is greater or less than another. And so the first I'm going to compare something that will be really hard to do the way we're going to teach you later, but I'm going to show you a really easy way to recognize these fractions. We're going to compare 5/9 to 7/16. Now in the last video we actually drew pies, and the pies were kind of hard to compare, and we drew bar models, and we could do that again, but 9ths and 16ths are not really easy to compare. And so one thing I want us to look at is how to use a benchmark. Okay, a benchmark is you find another number to compare something to, and so what we're going to do is we're going to put these on a number line. Now recognize this: both of these numbers are more than 0. If you ate 5/9 of a pizza, you ate some pizza. Same with 7/16. But they're both also less than 1. 9/9 as a whole, or 16/16 as a whole. So I'm going to have a number line, and I'm going to put 0. And I'm going to put 1, and both of these numbers will be between here. And then I'm going to use what I call a benchmark number. My benchmark number is that right in the middle I have a half. Okay, and so if I can put both of these numbers on my number line, if I know that one number is more or less than half, and then I know the other, a lot of times that'll give away the answer. So let's talk with 5/9 first. If you had a pizza and you ate 5/9 of it. So here's a pizza, and here's 5/9. So there's 9 slices, and you have 5 of them. Do you have more or less than half the pizza? Let's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 5, and that means that the part you don't have is 4. So you would actually have more than half the pizza. So if I put 5/9 on a number line, that's a little bit more than half. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come over here with 5/9. We're going to put that it's a little bit more than half. Now what if you had 7/16 of a pizza? And that's quite a pizza to draw, right? So you can't even read these because my handwriting's messy on this app. But then you'd have to label 7 of them. It's a pain to draw. But let me ask you a question. If you had 7 pieces of a pizza, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think that's 7. If you had 7 pieces, then that'd be 9 that you didn't have, right? And so you'd have less than half. So 7/16 is a little bit less than half. We don't have to do any hard work to do this. We just recognize this. If 5/9 is more than half and 7/16 is less than half, then 5/9 must be greater than 7/16. And anytime you have one fraction less than half and another more than half, you can always use that benchmark to tell. There's other numbers that are easy to use. 4ths and 8ths are very easy to use. And so that's really, as you get more comfortable with fractions, that's a good strategy to use. What I want us to do now is look at a few other strategies that will also help us. Okay, one of those strategies I want us to take a look at now is, what if I was comparing numbers with the same numerator? Actually, in fact, let's use unit fractions right now. A unit fraction, unit a lot of times means 1. A unit fraction is just a fraction that has a 1 in the numerator, 1/4 or 1/5, and they're really, really important for all kinds of math. Unit fractions, they're an important building block. They're also not that hard. So if you have 1/4 and 1/5, it's important to recognize this. We could also draw a pizza on this one, and we'd see that there's 1/4. Fifths are kind of hard to draw, but you get used to it when you do it more. And what I should recognize very quickly is that one of these pieces on the left, I'll put this one in pink, is definitely more than one of these pieces. And all you have to do if you have a unit fraction is this. You have to recognize that the smaller denominator is actually the larger number. And so we would say that 1/4 is greater than 1/5. That's always true with unit fractions. In fact, what I want us to see real quick is it's actually always true as long as the numerators are the same. We don't talk a lot about common numerators in math, but they can be helpful. For example, if I wanted to compare 3/5 and 3/4. Well, what I recognize here is in both cases, I've got 3 pieces of pizza. The one on the right, I cut my pizza into 5 equal slices, and I take 1, 2, 3 of them. And the one on the left, I cut my pizza into 4 equal slices, and I take 1, 2, 3 of them. And so the question is, in which case do I have more pizza? Well, when I have the same number of pieces of each, but the fourths are larger than fifths, and we recognize that 3/5 is less than 3/4. So one thing we could say is when the numerators are the same, the smaller denominator gives us the little smaller pieces, so it's actually the larger. It's exactly reverse of what you would think. Now, don't do this dangerous thing. Don't start thinking, oh, when the denominator is smaller, the number's bigger. Notice I said that's only true when the numerators are the same. When the numerators are different, we have a little more work to do. And I want to try one more where we look at what's really kind of the opposite of a unit fraction, what I'm going to call the missing one-piece fractions. Okay, these show up a lot on different tests and things like that, and they're not so bad when you look at them. We're going to compare 3/4 to 4/5. Now here's how I like to think about it. Some people go through a lot of work trying to figure out what 3/4 is and what 4/5 is, and they make drawings, or they make these into 20ths, which we're going to learn to do in our next video. But actually recognize that these two fractions have something in common. These are each a pizza that is missing one piece, right? And so what I'm just going to talk about the pink parts of the pizza. So let me do the pink parts of each pizza as the numerator, right? I have 3/4 of the one on the left is pink, 4/5 of the one on the right, and we'll do the blue to be what I'm going to call the missing piece, right? And so the pizza on the left is 3/4 pink. You notice it's got one blue piece that we're going to take out. In fact, let me go ahead and just erase the blue piece right now. And notice its blue piece is bigger than the one on the 4/5 I'm going to take out. So if the pizzas are the same size, but we took a bigger piece from 3/4 and 4/5, which pizza has more left? And we should actually realize, oh, the one on the right is actually has more left. 4/5 is the greater number, or we should say 3/4 is less than 4/5. You may want, if you ever get stuck, watch this video again. It's got some very interesting strategies. They're not really listed in your textbook, but they're really important in growing in your number sense with fractions, and I think you'll find them very helpful.